Do you like your army?
I look forward to seeing them in action.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the new 2026 Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Attack of the Clones Jango Fett, a much needed update to an old figure. I believe it's one of the first figures in the line. I could be mistaken. I got the Gamerverse version of it, re-release version of it way back when. But this is a much needed, much anticipated, like I said, not re-release, update to that old figure. That is just so appreciated, man. And this figure is awesome. This has to be one of, if not the best, Star Wars Black Series releases in a long time. I know for me it was very exciting. I kind of fell out of Black Series for a while there. I'm being a lot more picky when it comes to what I'm buying from Black Series. I haven't bought many of the new clones. If I do, it's usually just the white ones so I can paint them up. And yeah, it was this Jango Fett and the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith Anakin that I'm looking for. And my wife got me this for Valentine's Day, which I am very happy about and very thankful for. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get stuck straight into it. So first things first, we'll look over his accessories, and bare bones. Doesn't come with much, as is the case with Black Series 100% of the time, unless it's any of the like San Diego Comic-Con or any Comic-Con release, or a deluxe, which I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't release this as a deluxe with how Black Series has been doing stuff lately. But yeah, accessories, just what he needs. He's got a jetpack, a helmet, and his 2 blaster pistols. Which look very good. So, getting into this figure, let's zoom the camera in a bit so we can get a look at all those details. You can see with this figure, there's a combination of things going on here. So we got silver paint for the upper torso, for his back plate, his shoulders, his chest plate, and his collar plate, as well as his van braces. But for the codpiece and the leg armor, it is molded in silver plastic. It's also painted for his feet here, which does create a bit of a contrast. It is far bigger of a contrast on camera than it is in person. I actually don't mind it at all. Oh, his helmet is also molded in the silver plastic, which a lot of people will have a problem with, just because in the mixing process for the silver plastic isn't perfect. A big example of that, it would be the Mark II Iron Man, which I don't seem to have nearby, and it's usually on my desk. Where's my... Hold on. I found him. Mark II Iron Man has this type of plastic, and you can see with a lot of the areas, like in his abdomen, you can get those swirls. I know a lot of people call it the swirly twirly silver plastic. I don't mind it as much, especially I seem to be getting pretty lucky with mine and not getting so many swirls. Iron Man's got a big one right here on his helmet. But we're not talking about Iron Man, we're talking about Jango Fett, which, speaking of helmets, I do have a really big one right there. But like I said, it doesn't really bother me much. What actually bothers me most is, if I catch the light just right, there's a little nick and the black paint right there, which I might try and fix later. That little neck bothers me quite a bit. But anyway, looking at the details, it is painted super well. The lines are all really crisp other than that black paint. The thin pinstriping for the helmet could be better, but I mean, Lego also hasn't figured this out with their astromech droids, so I'm not too chuffed about. I'm not either happy nor upset about this. So I'm indifferent when it comes to that thin line. I know something. If you guys watched a video link right there, I did a custom Jango Fett myself, and I didn't even try with those lines. So backpack or jetpack rather is the jetpack we see at the end of the movie on Geonosis, and it does. I believe this is the same mold as what we got with the. No, it's not the same mold as with the Death Watch Loyalist. I don't think it's the same mold. I think this is different because the thrusters here are articulated. And then the blasters. This is, in my opinion, the only part of this set here that is a downgrade as compared to the original, because the original, the blasters were painted. So they had the difference in gray and silver, while as these are just one color. But they are new molds. They are slightly smaller. So I do appreciate them making new molds for it. But like I said, there is a difference in paint there, which again might be something that I add, but maybe not, because at the same time, it would just be chipping away. Anyway. I'm going to have to figure himself. Again, like I said, we had the difference in the painted armor and the molded armor, but otherwise everything else is molded really well. Got a nice matte finish all over the body, which is really, really, really nice. And that head sculpt is just absolutely superb. We got his scarring on the side of the face there, 5 o'clock shadow, scarring at the top there, by his eye, on his forehead. Got the wrinkles painted in. He does have a little bit of a sweaty look to him. This probably could do with a matte coat, just the head itself, because the rest of the figure is just so matte and so premium looking. Got a nice leather grain texture molded into the belt there and the holsters. It's soft, but it's there. Overall, just really good. And with all the accessories on him, this is the look. The blasters do fit in the holsters. It is a nice snug fit, so they're not going to just fall out on you. You do actually have to push them in a little bit there. So they're not going to fall out. You can actually hold the whole figure by the blasters and shake them around. See, he fell out of my hand. The blasters did not fall out of the holsters. Just got to be careful when they're in, not to twist them, just because of how snug they are. I am concerned with how thin the blasters are, that it either will break the blaster or just wear out the holster. Yeah, looking good, Jango Fett, man. Just a good looking figure, man. Going over articulation, this is where the figure suffers a little bit. Emphasis on a little bit. Just because we got the whole single joint system with the elbows and knees here. But with the head, we'll take the helmet off so you can get a better look at the head. He does have a ball joint inside the head and at the base of the neck. So we do get a good bit of up. I think it's plenty for a flight pose, especially when you combine the back. We got side movement, obviously, and then we got pretty good tilt going left and right. It's nice and just buttery smooth, man. This kind of reminds me of an SH Figure Arts, how smooth it is. Man. Shoulders. Because this is all molded in with the vest there, you're not going to get as much movement as you would like, but you can still get up that far with a little bit of a butterfly in there. So that's about as far forward as you're going to get with that butterfly. Back that far. You can move forward about that far before it starts colliding with the shoulder pad there. Elbows, you do have these hoses on both sides to contend with. And they have snapped on my other Jango Fett. But what I like to do is I like to just, because you have a rotation here at the gauntlet as well, the van brace, I like to just rotate it forward a bit so that the hoses are on the side there, and then bend the elbow. So that way it gets past there. So just over 90 degrees. Rotation there at the van brace, as I showed before. Rotation at the top of the elbow, and this little cup here is also rotates. And then you have a ball joint at the wrist. Yeah, little ball joint at the wrist. Let's see if we can. There we go. For all sorts of movement there. At the waist, you have a ball, and there it's a single piece waist with a ball, so you get that much crunch. Let's see how much you get without the jetpack on. That much arc back, some tilt, rotation. At the thighs, they're doing with a lot of the new Black Series figures, they're not putting in thigh cuts, proper thigh cuts. It is just larger ball joint and sockets. So you do get some rotation there. Probably not as much as you'd want, but the single jointed knee with the pin going up in there does allow for a bit more rotation. The knee pad is a floating piece, so with that you can kind of move it out of the way to accommodate certain poses if you need, to get just barely over 90, barely, with rotation there. And then for the ankle, you have, if you futz around with it, you can get full point, get forward about that far, and then you have a front facing pin for some rocker. So overall, it is a very kind of bare bones release, but it is amazing nonetheless. I mean, this figure, like I said, like I've been saying, is a much needed update on the original Jango Fett, which we're going to see compared to him here in a second. But yeah, it's super nice, and as I said before, the boosters here do articulate. And if you have the deluxe Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, the rocket boosters here, the effect pieces, are compatible with this Jango Fett. One could argue that this should have been included with the Jango Fett, and I would argue that it should have been, but it is nice that it is compatible, even though it doesn't come with them. So, if you ask me, this release probably should have come with more, perhaps a secondary jetpack, as well as maybe even his poncho, just for different looks, and different hands. If you're going to do this whole ball joint system, where the hands can come off so easily, why relegate the optional hands to the convention releases? You know, if it would be really cool if he came with some fists, just so he could do some proper, flamethrower effect, flamethrower poses, or even grapple hook poses. But still cool nonetheless. That is the only piece, by the way, of the Return of the Jedi. These are the only pieces from the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett that are compatible with this release. The flamethrower effect, it just isn't. The flamethrower here doesn't even separate from the van brace, so it's not big enough of a connection for it to attach, which is a darn shame. That would have been cool. But if you have some blue tack, you can futz it. So overall, very happy with this release. Can't really complain too much. It's a new Jango Fett, but it could have been more. It definitely could have been more, but I am happy to have it. So going over some size comparisons, here we have them next to my custom Jango Fett and the original Jango Fett Gaming Greats, Gaming Greats Jango Fett. His belt is on this custom, so that's why he looks a little naked. And I believe this is an important comparison as well, removing the custom here and bringing in a standard Phase 1 Clone Trooper from Hasbro. I do believe this is a worthwhile comparison here. Going over the head sculpts here, the Temuera Morrison likenesses. This, absolute trash. Just, no. But this here is a more interesting comparison here. Because this, obviously, is supposed to be a clone of this. And every single clone trooper we have has this face and this hairstyle. This kind of more boxy, high top, flat top hairstyle. While this looks far more like Temuera Morrison, in my opinion, with the slick back kind of curly hair. So this begs the question, are new clone troopers going to look more like this? Or are they going to continue looking like this? Considering this is supposed to be the same guy, same as this guy. Now, I've seen a lot of people upset about this online, but I will argue that this is a clone of him, and in the movie, we had two different adult actors play the clones from two different stages in life. And this could be seen as some sort of combination of the two actors. Or you could argue as well that because the Kaminoans didn't have Jango Fett after episode 2 anymore, because of his untimely demise at the hands of Mace Windu, that because of the degrading genetic material, that they started to look a little less like him. Arguments can be made, headcanon can be made. Whatever you want to believe, here's how the two look next to each other. And bringing the custom back in one more time, because I do have the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett jetpack on him. This system here is compatible with the old Boba Fett jetpack. So if you want to have kind of the look that he has at the beginning of the movie, when he fights Obi-Wan on Kamino, you can have that. You can have that look going on. As to whether or not this jetpack is compatible, I actually do not know. I have not tried this out yet. So it does fit in the hole, but the top tabs here don't tab in. So it does fit. If you want this look and you have this jetpack, you could, I think, get away with it, barring how far it kind of leans back, but that's how that looks. Oh, here he is next to a Geonosian battle droid from Hasbro. That clone trooper again. Mace Windu. And his boss, Count Dooku. Scaling looks pretty right to me here. Temuera Morrison is shorter. Mace Windu and Christopher Lee, or Samuel Jackson and Christopher Lee, were a bit taller. So this looks about right to me. My custom version of myself, based on my custom Mandalorian, based off my own cosplay armor. Din Djarin. A couple other Hasbro offerings. Standard Marvel Legends, you got Daredevil and the Matt Murdock body with a different head sculpt on it. A G.I. Joe. Indiana Jones. The long-awaited return of my custom Sonic Movie 3 Sonic. Mario. Goku. Mega Man. Pikachu. Bowser. iPhone 16 Pro. 1:1 scale. Hasbro helmet. Game Boy game. And Hasbro Transformers Armada Unicron. So, I've had this figure for a while now. Obviously, I got this for Valentine's Day. And I'm doing this as a voiceover. So just finished doing some B-roll, and you can see here in this additional B-roll that there's a little bit of a tear going on. So those D-rings for his holsters, make sure you're being a little more mindful. Those are really thin parts of the rubber, and obviously they can break after doing some intense posing. So just whenever you're posing the figure, whenever you're messing with it, just be mindful of that area. They were trying to make it look as realistic as possible, which meant leaving that gap in the middle of the D-ring to reflect what a real D-ring would look like in leather. That being said, though, I still 100% recommend this figure. If you're a fan of Star Wars Episode 2 or of Jango Fett, period, the Bounty Hunter games, whatever, definitely pick this figure up. If you can find it, it's totally worth it. So if you guys like this video, you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit the like button down below, leave a comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you're notified when I put out the next video. I'll see y'all later.